Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Victor Menasce. I'm your host tonight. I'm one of the partners here at Y Street Capital. We're a development firm. I happen to be based in Ottawa, Canada. That's where I live. And our company is split between Canada and the United States. Our U.S. headquarters are in Salt Lake City, and we're very active developers across 9 states in the U.S. and a fair bit in Canada as well. Here to talk to you tonight about a bit of a mid-year update. Talk a little bit about what's going on in the middle of 2024, but more importantly, to set the stage for what's coming next year, and that is, of course, 2025. I'm also the host of the Real Estate Espresso podcast, a daily show 7 days a week, coming up now on episode 2400. I can hardly believe it. Been doing this a little while. Yeah, but it's a labor of love, and just glad to have many of you as listeners to the show. So just privileged to have that conversation with many of you each and every day, even if it's a one-way conversation. I'd be interested, in fact, it was last week, I was at an event and asked people, put up their hand if they had set goals for 2024. And about half of the folks in the room put up their hand, and then asked people to keep their hands up if they achieved all of their goals so far this year. And we're roughly halfway through the year, and not that many hands were left up at the end of that little poll. So one of the things that happens, of course, is that we always seem to encounter difficulties in our lives. We set goals. We sometimes get pushed off course, and that's just reality. That's what happens in the marketplace. In fact, I spent a little bit of time today. Let me see if I can share the screen here with you. Just to look at a couple of headlines out of the Wall Street Journal. And this is something that, happens all the time. There's a lot of negative news in the world. Let me see if this will share properly. Let me share this properly here. Here we go. So these are just a few of the headlines from the last couple of days. We've had the Dow fall 500 points today after the NASDAQ fell 2.5 percentage points yesterday. There's just an awful lot of things going on in the marketplace that are pushing us off course. And so, against those headwinds, it's maybe quite understandable that we're not necessarily achieving all of our goals. And yet there are folks who over time seem to consistently hit their goals. And so then the question then becomes, why is that? What is different about those people that makes them achieve more, be more successful? This is a topic that we spend a lot of time talking about, even internally within our own business. We use a system for planning our business, both on a long-term basis, on a yearly basis, on a quarterly basis, and even weekly. And we get together 2 days offsite for every quarter, every 12 weeks, we sequester a couple of days and we go deep on everything that's going on in the business, and we look at our goals deeply. But most importantly, we spend that time to do annual planning as well. And it's an interesting process, because when you do that, you discover things that maybe make you feel bad. And when you do that, you got to figure out, what do you do with that information? And I call that mining for gold. Because what is the gold in that retrospective? The gold is looking for those few lessons that are going to be pivotal in helping you create new systems, new structures for continuous improvement that will resolve that issue, not just once in the moment, but systemically, so that those issues don't keep recurring. And in order to do that, you tend to have to go through all kinds of stuff in order to distill it down to those few key lessons, those true root causes, and then hang on to the gold and let go of all of the tailings that are necessary to mine for that gold, because that all those tons of extra worthless rock, you can carry that around with you and feel bad about it and so on, but then you're really carrying around a lot of extra weight for nothing. So it's a process of really learning what is it that are the key messages when it comes to just conducting that retrospective. What happens in life is not really just what happens. Often we end up creating stories around that. And so we as humans, we are master storytellers. You could say, for example, what was the weather today? Some people would say it was warm, or it was cold, or it was rainy. But at the end of the day, Mother Nature doesn't care whether it was cold or warm. The weather is the weather. There's nothing more to it than that. All of those other things are stories that we humans wrap around what happened in order to give it meaning. And we apply this to virtually everything we do, and we do it unconsciously. We are master storytellers. So in order to get at the heart of the matter, to really understand what's happening, it takes some training to learn how to separate the story from reality. And in so doing, you really get to the root cause of what's happening, why you're being successful, why you're not being successful. And at the key of this, it really starts with understanding what is your knowledge base. And I've put together this little pie chart here, and each segment of the pie represents what you know. So in this little quadrant up here at the top, these are the things that you know. You know what you know. For example, I know that I know how to drive a car. So I know how to drive a car, and I know that I know how to do that. Then there are things that you don't know. For example, I know that I don't know how to perform brain surgery. Those are things that I don't know, and I know that I don't know them. And then there are things between those two that are also in that category of things that you don't know, but you don't know that you don't know them. Hopefully that's not too confusing. What that means is that they're in your blind spot. Those things that are between what you know and what you know you don't know, those are in your blind spot. And most of the time when people struggle, when they are having difficulty achieving their objectives, it's because of those things that are in their blind spot. And it's important to go through a process to understand how that works. And so it's those blind spots that are key. So we often think about success. A lot of people talk about what is success, and success is secular. It's really in the eyes of the beholder. What's might be successful for Mother Teresa would be completely different, say, than Donald Trump. Though that's success is very much in the eye of the beholder. What that means is that in order for you to define success for yourself, you have to gain alignment between your goals and your values. And that's a deep introspective process. When you do that, then actually goal setting becomes very easy. And I'm going to assert that most people actually have no idea how to set goals. And one of the best illustrations of that, and I'm sure you've all taken courses on how to set SMART goals and all of that kind of stuff. But I'm going to give you a little nuance here that might be helpful even in your day-to-day life. A lot of people set what are called attainment goals. Let's say, for example, you might have a goal of, let's say, losing 20 pounds. And you know that when you've lost 20 pounds, you've attained that goal. And that's a valid goal. And you could make it a SMART goal and say, I want to lose 20 pounds by March 15th. So it's time-based. You've got a very clear objective. It's realistic that you could lose that weight in that time period. All of these things would follow that SMART goal framework. But the problem is that SMART goal isn't actually a guide. It's not a guide in any way. The other type of goal that's actually far more powerful are what are called habit goals. So, for example, instead of setting a goal to lose 20 pounds, you might instead choose to consume 2,400 healthy whole food calories every day. And that goal might result in you losing 20 pounds, but it's a different type of goal. It's a habit goal as opposed to an attainment goal. And when you build that habit and you make that part of you on a daily basis, then the attainment actually becomes quite straightforward. I almost made the mistake when I started the Real Estate Espresso podcast of setting an attainment goal. I had it in my mind. I said, wouldn't it be cool if someday, maybe in the distant future, I could achieve 100,000 downloads? And I'm glad I did not set that goal. I'm actually very glad, because chances are if I'd set that goal, I probably would have failed. The goal that I set instead was quite simply to produce one piece of quality content every day. And so here we are into our 7th year, 2,400 episodes later, into the millions of downloads. And if I had set the attainment goal, I probably would have failed. I don't know that I would have failed, but I probably would have failed, because I'm guessing I would have got discouraged when I was too far from achieving that first 100,000 downloads. And so when we think about success, it's always about, how do we set that context? Now, this is something that we spend a lot of time on within Y Street Capital, within our team. Our team are very heavily engaged in this process. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite you to our Offshore Goals Retreat. This is coming up on November the 10th. It's actually going to be 6 days on a cruise ship coming out of New York City. 2 days at sea, 2 days in Bermuda, and then 2 days at sea. The first 2 days at sea are going to be hard work. This is our 5th time running this event. It is hard work for you to take the time and dig deep. I'll be leading the session, but you're going to have to do the work to really gain alignment between your goals and your values. And if you don't achieve that alignment, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to achieve your goals. And I'm going to assert that that's one of the reasons why maybe you're not achieving a lot of your goals today. We've got 2 days on shore in Bermuda. We'll be doing a lot of things together as a group. We'll be dining together. We may do a couple of excursions together on the beautiful island of Bermuda. And then on the way back, we have some amazing speakers talking about real estate. And then Marc Halpern, who is, he's an interesting guy. He's a chemical engineer by training. He's also a real estate investor. He's an expert in deep due diligence, but he's also a specialist on the topic of happiness. And he's going to be leading us through our workshop on that and how to both measure as well as enhance the happiness in your life. So it's going to be a very powerful transformational session. Would love to have you with us. We already have quite a number of folks registered for the event. We're going public with it now. Matt Picheny is the other partner with us in co-hosting this event. Matt's a wonderful gentleman. He is a Tony Award-winning actor out of New York City. He's also a real estate investor. He's a partner with us on several projects, and he's the lead on several thousand of apartments himself. So he'll be talking to us all about value-add investments. It's going to be an amazing event. There's an opportunity for you to register. We are taking registrations now. The early bird registration ends at the end of July, on July 31st. So prices will be going up after that, because our cabin block is not going to be held much longer after that. And the tuition for this week is $2,950. That is, of course, if you register before the end of July. There's a variety of different cabins available, both inside cabins, ocean view cabins, and balconies. The cost of the cruise itself is extra over and above the cost of the workshop, but that way you can choose what accommodations are appropriate for you. We'd love to have you with us, and I'm really excited about this event. It's one of the most fun things that I do every year. We've done it in different locations. We've done it on the beach in Mexico. We've done it in colder locations up in the Rocky Mountains. It's a wonderful time to spend focus time and get clear on your goals. And when you do, one of the reasons we do this in November as opposed to doing it in the new year is you want to do it actually in the fourth quarter so that you hit the ground running on January 1st. There's a lot of people that start to think about goal setting in the end, towards the end of December or in early January. That's already too late. you've already missed the opportunity to do that deep planning and that introspective work that's necessary for you to really enter the next calendar year powerfully. So again, the registration link is in the QR code. We'd love to have you with us. And if you've registered for the webinar and couldn't be on the webinar live tonight, you will get a copy of this replay as well as a copy of the link to register. Again, we'd love to have you with us. And with that, I will stop the screen share and open it up to any questions for the folks on the line. The best way to put questions would be to go to the questions button or the chat button, either one, and be happy to answer any questions. One of the frequent questions we get is, why does it take 2 days to set goals for an entire year? And having done this, now this will be our 5th time, I can tell you that it is, actually this will be our 6th time. We've done it 5 times before. It is an introspective process. This is not simple. It takes a lot of time to go through the thinking process, and I lead you through a very structured way of approaching this. And I find that oftentimes, even at the end of 2 days, it feels that some parts of it feel a little bit rushed, like we almost didn't get through everything. So even when you are done at the end of 2 days, you will still have more work to do at home. I can promise you that. You will absolutely have more work to do at home in order to gain further clarity on some of the things that you want to do that maybe even didn't make the cut in your initial set of goals. So, it really is intensive work. We're holding it in a beautiful setting on a cruise ship. One of the nice things about that is we all get to be together. And then when we do, there's not a lot of distractions. And that's the beauty is you really kind of forced to focus on what is otherwise really actually quite difficult work. It's not for everybody. For those that are really serious about taking their lives and their businesses to the next level, this could be a great thing, and we'd love to have you with us. Okay, any more questions? This question is, how do you determine how to raise your goals year over year? Oh, that's a fabulous question. There's different philosophies about that. So one philosophy is aim for the stars and hopefully you'll clear the treetops. And I've seen people do that. I frankly find that demoralizing. I don't actually agree with that philosophy. I think there's a way to set graduated goals so that you have things that you can achieve, that you can achieve, that are a stretch. So when you set a goal, you may in fact have 3 different thresholds. You may have the goal that you say, all right, if nothing else, I'm going to clear this first bar. And then you may have, and then this next bar is my stretch target. This is where I'd like to get to. And boy, if all the planets align, I'm going to aim for the stars. But then by having that graduated approach, you can measure yourself more precisely as opposed to just picking a number. And by having that additional level of granularity, it makes it easier for you to measure. And when you actually measure your own performance, it's not to make you feel bad. It's to see what is happening in reality. And it's through that measurement process that you can know what else to change in the future. And it's really metrics based. So measurement is the key to determine how to raise your goals the next year. If your goal is an attainment goal, if it's a habit goal, here too, you can decide what you want to raise your next habit to be if you've achieved your current habit. So that's a great question. This next question, do I agree with Grant Cardone's 10X philosophy in regards to goal setting and execution? I believe that we often set limiting beliefs in terms of incremental thinking. I see a lot of people, especially in the world of real estate investing, trying to do small projects. And it's that small thinking that's often based on capital constraints. People look in their bank account and they say, well, I have 100 grand. What can I buy with 100 grand? So they go buy a, I don't know, 1-bedroom condo. And the fact is, to manage a single property, whether it's a 1-bedroom condo or a 10-unit building or a 100-unit building, as the property owner, that effort is virtually identical. The management effort is almost the same. So if you had the choice between doing a 1-unit or a 10-unit or 100 or 1,000 units, pick the bigger one. Now you say, well, I don't have all the capital. Okay, fine. So figure out how to go get the capital. Because if I know for myself, if I simply based my own decision making on that constrained way of thinking, we would be doing very small projects. You know, when our company set out to go acquire the Norris Ranch in Colorado Springs, I mean, this is a massive property. It's just under 1,800 acres. I looked at my bank account. I didn't have a spare 20 mil rattling around doing nothing. And so if I let that be, I actually didn't even give it a second thought. I knew I didn't have that money. But it wasn't a concern. It was, is this project make sense? And if it does, and there's enough value to be created, then let's figure out how to go get it done. It's in that process of setting those goals. You know, we set the goal to go take down the Norris Ranch. Frankly, we didn't know if we could achieve it. We did in the end, but it was through the process of actually setting that goal that we were able to accomplish it. And yeah, absolutely, 10x what it is that you were thinking of doing, or even add a second zero or a comma, because there really aren't that many limits to what you can accomplish other than the limits that you set in your own mind. Okay, more questions. Going once, going twice. Well, if we don't have any more questions, I'm going to wish you a good evening. We've kept this under 23 minutes, and hopefully you've got some value from it. I'd love to see you on board the beautiful Norwegian cruise line on November the 10th out of New York City. It's leaving out of the port of New Jersey. So the best airport to fly into is Newark, New Jersey, and it's a very short distance from Newark Airport. And it's a wonderful time of year to travel. And we'll look forward to seeing you then. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye for now.